Hey, everybody, and welcome back to We've Got Issues. It is a discussion amongst a group of friends who really do feel passionately about the things we know and the things we love, and we offer them to you guys regularly to see what your thoughts are about them. And today, as usual, I'm here with a group of people that you've obviously come to grow and love as much as I do. It is my good friends, Ron Evans.
Hey.
And Darren Gray.
What up?
Representing the D. And of course, our newest member to the family, Miss Ellen Neely.
Good evening, everyone.
Everybody doing good today?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, it is my turn to bring the topic of the day. And I am going to start it off with a clip. And I'm going to share this clip, and then we will discuss what the topic is on the other side.
Consciousness. Few debates stir as deeply as the clash between in the realm of human consciousness. Few debates stir as deeply as the clash between God, faith, and reason. This age-old discourse explores profound questions. Can faith coexist with reason, or are they fundamentally at odds? Throughout history, philosophers and theologians have grappled with these questions. Faith, often seen as a deeply personal conviction, touches the divine and transcends empirical evidence. Reason, championed by the Enlightenment, demands evidence and logical consistency. Yet, in this equation, can these elements harmonize? Some argue faith complements reason, guiding moral frameworks and fulfilling a human need for purpose. Others contend that reliance on faith undermines rational inquiry. The debate remains vibrant, igniting both scholarly exchanges and personal reflections. As we navigate our beliefs, the dialogue between faith and reason challenges us to seek understanding.
All right. So my topic for the day is losing my religion. That's the subject that I want to get into. And rather than discussing from the beginning what my feelings are, I want to ask everybody a simple question, because I'm going to assume, based on what I know of each one of you guys, that each one of you has a belief in God, correct?
Correct.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Everybody believes in God here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my question. And I'm going to take it Ella first, then Ron, then Darren. Okay, Ella, Ron, Darren. Question is, why do you believe in God? Why do you believe in God?
I believe that there's a higher being than us. I believe in the spirituality of it. And I just firmly believe that there's something bigger and greater than us that put us all here. That's why I believe.
Cool. Ron.
Yeah, I'm not going to say much different than Ella. I think that the most logical analysis when you look at the universe is that it was created by a divine entity that created and set in motion. You can call it the Big Bang, whatever you want, but there was nothing before, and then there was something that was done through intelligent design, if you will. So it's the most logical explanation for our universe.
Okay, got it. Darren?
I started believing God as a young person, going to church. And as an adult, I chose God. I chose to believe in God and his son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. It was a choice as an adult. As a child, it was sort of thrust upon me because I had to go to church, and that was part of my belief. But there was a time when I questioned it, and then I chose it.
Okay. And
Darren, you didn't answer his question. Why do you believe in God?
Well, I chose God because that is what I wanted to believe. It was after being in the church and growing up and then sort of falling away, I looked and I said, that's what I want to be. I want to be a Christian.
Got it. So Darren actually leads me to my second question. And I'm going to go the opposite direction. Darren, Ron, and then Ellen. Darren, who is God?
Who is God? I believe God is the creator of all things. He's the Father. I believe that his son, Jesus Christ, came to earth in human form to conquer sin. And I believe in the Holy Spirit, the gift of God, which gives me the ability to discern what it is that God wants me to do.
Okay, so you believe in the God of the Bible, the Christian God.
Yeah.
God of, yeah. Okay, got you. Ron, who is God?
Man, these are some deep questions on a late evening here in podcast land. God to me is the entity that is divine and understands the cause and effect of decisions that he places in motion. Although we still have free will, but he can look up from the mountain and see the cars going, and he can predict when there's going to be accidents if they continue on the same course. But ultimately, he's the great person or the intelligent designer of all that we have in the universe.
And so that God is a personal God that you can know, that you can connect with in some way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And would you say that you also believe in the God of the Bible, or it's more of a vaguer?
No, I believe in the God of the New Testaments. I believe in Jesus Christ. I think where I differ possibly is I don't think that Christianity is the only path to salvation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got you. Ella, who is God?
So God is a universal being that all of us are a part of. So he created us and we are a part of him. But I just think he's a universal being.
Okay, so your version is not necessarily the God of the Bible. It's more of a spirit, an energy.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay. Last question, then I'll get into kind of the meat of what we'll discuss, and I'd love to hear more about it. We'll go Ella, Ron, Darren. One question. If you could ask God any question, what would it be? That's for you, Ella.
Yeah, I know. That's a big one. One question.
Think on it. We can come back to it.
Yeah.
Ron, one question.
Why can't USC run the football?
You got my question, brother. You got my question right there. Will they run the football this season?
That'll be in our August episodes. No, I mean, I think that the question it's the one that most people ask is like, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people, especially the young and the innocent?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's happening in pick a land, Gaza, the Ukraine, anywhere.
Right.
Why does he allow bad things to happen to good people?
Okay, fair. Darren.
Were Adam and Eve the first humans, or were they God's elect to rule over all the other humans? And the question I ask that is, who was Cain afraid of?
Now you get
Remember, Cain says, if people find out I killed my brother, then there'll be this, and then God put a mark on Cain, and if anybody touches Cain, I want to know who those other people were. Like, did God create the earth and then say, wow, you know what, we need somebody to rule over these people, and he set Adam and Eve aside as to train them in the garden to rule over humanity? That's what I would want to know. Were Adam and Eve the first people that he created, or were they created to be his caretakers of all the other people? That's what I want to know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Got you. Well, I bring the question up because of all the things I think about in my day-to-day comings and goings, right? The purpose of life, the meaning of life, how life started, like all the existential things, more important than how much money can I make, how long will I live, how whatever, is there an afterlife? Like the overall question that's the most interesting to me is, who is God, right? Like who is he really, right? And there's so many different answers to that question. The clip that I played is really where I think we're all kind of toggling between. There's faith and there's reason, right? Faith says that you can't know the unknown without faith, right? And the reason says, but you cannot divorce reason from knowing who God really is, right? Because what you're ultimately after is the truth of what is really true. And to a certain degree, each one of you in your discussion about who God is saying, well, God is the person that I chose. I chose this one, right? This version of who God is the one that I like, right? If I'm at the grocery store and I'm picking, spaghetti sauce, I can pick that brand or I can pick that brand. Well, this is a brand that you chose, and and to a certain degree, maybe everybody's right or nobody's right, or maybe there's another version out there that we've yet to discover. And I just find it of interest, and I wonder if you guys feel that my analysis of what has been said is true, is that God is whoever you choose him to be, and that's the version that you go off with. Do you feel like that's true, or do you feel like you've come to some existential truth about who God is?
What I think is, no matter what way you slice it, you have to have faith. There's no such thing as reason, because all of your reason is based on your belief in something. As you weren't born with the knowledge you have. All the knowledge you have had to come from somewhere, whether you believe in atoms or plastic or whatever. You have to accept on faith every aspect of your life. So there is no reason. We call it reason because we need something to call it. It's all based on faith. Atheists have to have faith. Agnostics have to have faith. You have to have faith in something. And so I don't necessarily think you may be choosing your God. You're choosing your religion. Science is a religion. You're choosing your religion. And your religion is who you decide your God is going to be, or your lack of a God. I don't think there is reason, because I've had conversations with people, like with evolutionists, and I say, I believe in reverse evolution, because a cockroach is more proficient at survival than a human being. We're actually not the apex of evolution, because in nature, entropy, disorder rules, not entropy. And so reverse evolution makes more sense than evolution. You have faith that evolution exists.
Okay. Anybody else? The point is that you chose me. I got words for Darren, but I want to let you cockroaches in.
I mean, Nick, it's like a TV series that has a common theme that stretches throughout the season. Yeah, I mean, I think that the challenge, we all have, is there's no objective truth. So it is, as Darren did point out, it is an exercise in faith. And I think on a personal level, I've got several examples. In fact, I thank you, Notebook LM, for telling me that in episode 5, I shared the story about the hotel room in Ohio when I was afraid of taking the job offer in Ohio, and what I saw in the sky that night. So I think that it's a personal relationship, but there are unquestionable signs that, okay, I can either ignore this or I can go with it, but I know this is an abnormal situation that I'm being shown, and I need to heed the advice.
Okay. Ella, go ahead. Did you want to offer anything about my question about that? This is the God. Each one of us has a God that we have chosen.
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, are you talking about us individually, or are you talking about what people think about God?
Well, I'm talking about you individually, but you could certainly take it broader, because I think what relates to each one of us is true of most people, the whole world, essentially.
So I'm not a religious person. And I grew up in the church. I went to church, until my 30s or something. I don't go to church right now.
Mhm.
And because I think that religion is a man-made thing, but I do believe that there's a higher spirit than us. There is a God. There is a universal being. And so I don't know the Bible, like Darren talks about the Bible and stuff. But when I sit back and look at it, I think that there's a thinking people, and then there's people that don't think, that they're fed information. And I think that that when it comes to religion and stuff, there's just a mass amount of people that believe stuff because they read it in the Bible or somebody told them that, and that's what they're supposed to do, and that's what they believe. I stepped away from it, and I believe that there is a God. I think that it's a universal being, and I don't get into the intricacies of the religious part of it, because that I think that that's man-made. And so
Right.
that's
Okay.
my thought about it.
Fair. I asked the question, if you had one question to ask God, what would it be? And I'll reveal what my one question is. And that is, what do you want? Like, what do you want? What's the reason for all of this, right? Like, we tend to approach God from what we want. And, we either want him to get us out of a jam or give us more of this or less of that or whatever the case may be. But my burning question, and I nag my wife incessantly when we talk about these kinds of things about this, which is, what is all this for? If each one of you is right in your own way, that God is that being beside whom there is no other. It's an energy, it's a person that you can know, it's a entity of some sort. He or it, whatever you want to call it, has created this situation where there's no one who can go to God and say, you know what? Good job on that. Now that I see the whole picture, you did that really well. There's no one whose opinion matters, right? If you are God and there's nothing beside you. So the question for me becomes, so why all this? Why is it unknowable? Why is it not the creation, if that is what we are, the creation, the emanation of the thing that we're connected to spiritually, however you want to couch it, right? If any of that or all of that is true, then what's the end game here, right? Like, do you get extra benefit? Do we get extra benefit? Like, the fact that everybody's running in his or her own direction about this, that all four of us, as you say, might have a different conception of God, and he seems to be okay with that, because there's no clearing it up. There's no judge. There's no referee who can throw a yellow flag or actually make a ruling on it. What do you want? What is all this good for, right? And that's why I am so interested. I'm not necessarily, I don't disbelieve, but I haven't found that thing which I can hang my hat on completely. And that's why, Darren, I disagree with your analysis that there is no reason, that it's only faith. Faith is just, in my view, another word for reason. You've boiled it down, you've assessed all the variables, you've thrown out that which you don't like, and you've kept that which you do. And so the things that don't necessarily resonate with you, you call faith. I'm going to believe this despite the fact that I can't quantify it. It doesn't relate to every situation. It doesn't explain away why certain things happen here or there or whatever. And that's okay. In my view, that's okay. You just, I feel like we need to be more upfront about that. Belief is great, but belief and truth may be two different things. And so,
the thing that I would ask you is, when you say reason, what do you consider evidence, or what do you consider something that is tangible, or something like, what do you consider that to be?
I don't even know what it would be, but whatever it is, it would answer that one question that I have. Like, what is this all good for, right? And why are we playing this game? Why is the ball hidden? Why doesn't USC run when you know they should run, right? Like, and I'm saying that facetiously, but you get the sense that, like, okay, there's an obvious way to clear this up. there's a way to move this ball down the field. And whoever's in charge is happy to let us run around aimlessly. So if there was a way that you could somehow feel the purpose in it, so that Ella doesn't have to say God's energy, and Ron doesn't have to say God is that thing above, everything. I'm kind of paraphrasing, may not be actually true. And Darren doesn't say God is Jesus, God, Yahweh, Jesus, blah, 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 is who God is. I'd love for there to be an actual end game or an actual explanation, so we can all say, oh, okay, I get it now. And you can choose it or not choose it. Doesn't mean you have to go with God. You can now choose it or not choose it based on him, whatever you want to say, doing what he should do, in my view.
I think the challenge, Nick, is if you were told what the playbook was, you would immediately turn people away from being faithful into something that they can't grasp into being nothing more than transactional, where it's like, okay, well, God's here. I know God exists. And if I do these three things, then I will get salvation. And therefore, it's very expedient of me to do what I've been told because now I know he exists.
But what's the value of that? You're still doing that transactionally. If you have a belief system, an ethical system, you believe that at the end of doing those things or living in that way, there's some outcome that's going to be beneficial to you, right? So whether it's that you know who God is or you don't, and you're working on it, you're still doing what you think you should do to be on God's right side.
So if what you're saying, and I feel a parallel to the prodigal son parable, but I'm going to go there anyway. So are you saying that if you got into SC on your own merit and I got in through cheating and sliding money under the table, well, as long as I got in, I got the reward. So why should you care if I wasn't sincere and honest in my pursuit?
Well, for one, we don't know that there's a heaven to go to, right? It could be that when God reveals, it's like, you know what, all this is done when it's done, or everybody gets in. So now all the stuff that you guys have done, like, we don't even know that. We can't even say that the end game is that. We don't know that it's that.
Well, I'll give you two things that hopefully can give you some context. One is children, for instance. Mm-hmm. Like, we create children and they don't necessarily understand as children what we're doing. Like my 4-year-old doesn't understand all of that and has no capability of understanding. The second thing is I can write a bunch of different programs that are very sophisticated because I have that skill. My programs will never understand me. They can't get to that point of self-awareness. And so if God is infinitely smarter or infinitely more capable, we may not have the capacity to understand what his purpose is. Mm-hmm. Just like my programs do not have the capacity to understand me, their creator. They just don't have that. And over time, they may develop some sense of that, like with AI, it's come a long way. They may get a sense of, oh, there is a programmer. But a created being, and again, it's going back to the Christian Bible, a created being may not have the ability to understand. So it's not that God is like keeping it from you. What if you just don't have the physical and mental capacity to understand?
So then I come back to my question, which is, so then what's it all for? Right? Yeah. So what do you get out of having a creation, if you are the creator, that can't really relate to you? That can't understand you, that you can look at, see, scurry and scuffle around or whatever, and not be able to intervene in a way that makes it all make sense.
Well, it's like with your children, there's a relationship, there's love, or when you create something, you have a pride in that creation. When I write a program that successfully carries out a particular task, there's something for me. I get a benefit of that. That I did something, I made something. So there is that part of it, either with your children or anything that you create. If you create a work of art, like the Renaissance artists, when they create, or when I used to do dancing, when I would have a good dance routine, there was a sense of I created something from my being came into existence in the world, and I'm proud of that. That gives me joy. So it could be that.
So it's all for God. It's all for God and not for the creating. Like it's all for his good pleasure, as it says in the Bible, right? That the whole thing is for God's good pleasure, and that the creation is just a byproduct. Take what you get as much as you can, understand. Good on you. If you don't, it was for my pleasure anyway. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit simplistic.
Ultimately, things are black or white to a certain
degree. That's not what the Bible actually says, though. I get what you're saying, but that's not what it says.
That's what you said. What I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, when you ask the question, like, what do you get out of it? I'm just like, I don't know God and I don't know the mind of God, but I'm just giving you some ways of thinking of it, like with your children or something that you create to understand. Or it may be there is a benefit. We just don't have the capacity yet to do that. So if you think of it in terms of, like, maybe on the grand scheme of maturity, we're 3 years old in God's eyes.
Darren, let me try to express your point to Nick differently, because I think, imagine it was 1492. You're in the court of Queen Isabella and Christopher Columbus, and you wheel in a personal computer with Microsoft Office and the internet, and you look at them and you're like, can't you see? This is amazing. It's going to change your lives. How could you not understand this is a computer? Mm-hmm. That was only 500 years ago. Okay.
Right.
We are too simplistic to understand what the grand design is. And again, 500 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, they wouldn't have even understood a computer. Okay. Right. And if you showed it to them, just as if God tried to reveal himself to us now, it's like, you're speaking a foreign language. I don't get it.
Right. No, I get it. But what if God just showed up, just did something simple like, okay, here I am. Any questions? Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Well, they did 2,000 years ago. In the Christian faith, he did 2,000 years ago. He actually did come and says, here I am. And they killed him.
But did he so there's a lot of people who feel like, yeah, Jesus came. He was a good guy. But there's people who absolutely believe in Jesus, but believe in Jesus in a more esoteric way, that he was trying to show us that what you believe in your mind, you can manifest, right? Like that's a different interpretation of who Jesus was. So
Muslims believe he was a prophet. The Jews believe he was a good guy. Yeah, there are people, but from my perspective as a Christian, I believe he was God incarnate. And so, and again, you can choose your religion of not believing it. It's still a religion because there is no reason, there is no ration, because we have no evidence. It's all based upon your faith in something. You have to believe in something, even to have a rational argument. You have to believe in something.
I mean, I think that someone said to me once that religion is like this giant mirror, and God brought this mirror to earth, and unfortunately someone who was carrying it dropped it and it shattered, and the Christians picked up their piece of the mirror, and the Muslims picked up their piece, the Jews picked up their piece, the Hindus picked up their piece, and they all were like, I've got the true piece. And it's like, no. There's a big mirror. You're just focusing on your slice of that mirror. And I think that's where religion is in the world right now.
Ella, go ahead. You probably been sitting here.
No, you guys are, it's above my head. So I'm letting you take over.
Ron, I wanna take on face value your analogy about the personal computer, right? Everybody and even up to this very day, we've all been people of our time. We are the sum total of all the knowledge and intelligence and whatever that has been shown to us over the years. And some people's minds are already thinking about things beyond what's here today. I don't think that being of this time, like actual proof or something that got, even if something that we can't understand, people couldn't understand AI a year ago. Like what AI is what? Mm-hmm. But once you're shown how that can work, you're like, okay, I see myself in that. I see how that fits in my life. So I don't necessarily agree that God doesn't have a way if God is a personal being, like someone who you can know, who has an ear to hear the prayers of his people or the supplications or whatever, that he doesn't have the ability to make himself known, like in at scale. At scale, he doesn't have the ability to make himself known. So I feel like we at one level give God all reverence that he's all powerful, yet we contain him to say, but he can't really reach us. You know, we don't have the ability, he doesn't have the ability to reach something so lowly, so devoid of mental capacity. And I just don't know that those things are true. And I'm not espousing or decrying anyone's religious belief, but I just feel like there's something more. There's something more that if God is someone who is more personal like that, that there's something more that we can know, not just believe in, but there's something we can know at scale.
So
are you losing your religion?
I'm being a little bit cheeky about that. I'm what really is I'm trying to find that thing. You know, I don't want to choose it because it makes me feel good. And certainly many religions, even to this day, Christianity being the easiest example, has gotten a black eye by being like, you know, you could get you can get 10 Christians in a room and they all have a different concept of God. And that's problematic. And to me, the fact that people don't see that, don't look at that and say, now it's a problem with us, or is there a problem with the concept of God that we've allowed ourselves to believe, where we can all twist him to suit our own goals? Because that's absolutely what's happening, in my view, in a Christian level. And that's not to say that God of the Bible is not true. I'm just saying that for whatever reason, he hasn't seen fit to make it clear, like, no. All that other stuff, not important. Here's the one thing. So,
well,
but you can spread that across Islam, Judaism, any of that. You can make it relevant to any of that.
But isn't that consistent with human nature, no matter what the topic? Like, we can't agree on gender. We can't agree on abortion. We can't agree on property. We can't agree on anything because we have freedom of choice. So if God reveals himself to us, it's like people are like, if Jesus came back today, you know, the Republicans would kill him. People have this whole concept. If we can't agree on basic things, then expecting God to, by giving us freedom to choose and believe, if he were to say, all right, here's the truth to everyone, we would then lose that ability to say, no, I don't agree.
Well, the thing that speaks to the point I'm trying to make, Darren, is if God's desire is to hold each one of us accountable for a standard that we must meet, if heaven is where the ultimate end game is, that you either get in or you don't, and there's all this question as opposed to which path, even Christian path, leads you there, then that's really my issue. My issue isn't that we can't seem to agree. It's my issue is that the playbook's not clear, that the rules are not clear. So, but yet we're being held accountable, right, to one another and to God, and that seems a little unfair to me. I'm just being honest about it, right? I'd love to be accountable, but I want to be accountable when the rules are clear.
And I struggled with that for a long time myself. I struggled with that about other religions. I struggled with that about, what about people who've never heard? I used to be like, well, what about, hidden tribes never heard? I struggled with that for years. And what I came to eventually is, in most things, everybody doesn't get in. That's just the way life is. Everybody does.
What if that person's you, Darren? And to see, I think everybody's.
What I'm saying is
somebody else. Somebody else is not going to get in. It's not going to be me.
But
I'm not getting in because I don't even think about it.
But that's where faith comes in. It's in every situation.
I'm dead, so it doesn't even matter.
In every situation, what zip code you were born. I mean, all of these things. It comes down to that. So it's an element of faith. It's like, why do I work so hard and put money away for my retirement when I could die tomorrow? It's still about faith. And at some point, you have to choose what you believe in or not believe in and deal with the consequences. Like one of our friends who used to love and debate, she once told me about, she's in San Diego now, she once told me about choosing between being a Muslim and a Christian. And she said, what happens if you're wrong? In the Muslim belief, you die and that's the end of it. In Nation of Islam Muslim, you die and that's the end of it. So if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. But if the Christians are right and I'm wrong, I'm going to hell. So she chose Christianity because in her mind, the cost of being wrong was worse if she was wrong about
That's not faith. That's just fear of consequences.
Yeah, I know, but
what I'm saying is
okay,
it's still a choice. And her choice and her reason for choosing
it's an expedient decision.
I think you are supporting the very question that I'm asking, that people make the choice based on what makes them feel good as opposed to what is necessarily what they think is true. It's an insurance policy for many people. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think the challenge is, Darren, when you are so cavalier in somebody in a remote island that's never heard the gospel is going to hell. Life sucks. I think that, and because it gets back to, if we look at the origins of Christianity in certainly North America, it's something where it was used as a tool of oppression and of slavery. Okay, so it's hard, and if you go you don't have to look farther back than the civil rights movement in the South. The biggest opponents of Martin Luther King were evangelical Christians.
Yep.
So the tenets of Christianity have been used as a shield and a sword against minorities. Let's not even talk about the Crusades. Let's not even talk about colonialism. And so to say that if you haven't been blessed by imperialism, you're not going to heaven, that's a hard equation to solve for me.
But that's just not in the religious space, right? If you happen to be born in Gaza, life sucks. You had no control. What I'm saying is,
but we're talking about religion, not your economic.
What I'm saying is, it's the same thing. It's completely different. The happenstance of birth.
No, it's not. You can always choose. I choose to be a Hindu. There, I believe I'm born in India, and I believe in Hinduism.
Yeah, but going back to your example about someone not hearing it, and that sucks. It can be said about any other area of life where there are conditions that you're born into that don't favor you.
But I don't understand how that gets back to religion. If I am a Hindu or we'll just say there, I'm a Hindu or a Jew, I'm not going to heaven?
I don't believe so. As a Christian, that's what I believe.
So let's see now that we're going to take India and China off the table. So that's 2 billion people that are not going to have salvation because they don't believe in Western Christianity.
Yes, or Eastern Orthodox.
So which leads me back to the question at hand, right? Which is, so what under that paradigm? So what does God want, right? If Darren's right, so what does that do? What is that? What point are you trying to make? What is the value of that to you? Because apparently it's all for you anyway, right? And so I agree that life is unfair. Mm-hmm. There's some people get in the club, some people never get in, right? And there's a list. The bouncer has a list. If your name's not on it, you ain't getting in.
You ain't getting in the club.
The problem is from a very much a Western and particularly American standpoint, we always figure that our name is on the list. And so we don't really have to confront. And particularly if you're a Christian or other ones where there's a consequence to not believing, whatever that is, you feel like, well, I'm on the list. So I'm sorry. I don't have to interrogate God at all about, well, why is there a list? You could have made this any way you wanted it to be. You had the rules were completely up to you. Yet, if I'm a Christian and there are billions of people who don't believe in Christianity, they're going to burn eternally, because this is what we're talking about. On a certain level, life is a vapor and it's here and gone. You live 100 years, there'll be billions of years in the future where either you will be alive or you won't be alive or you'll be whatever. But this right here is a vapor. So like we're talking about like eternal issues and we're treating them like they're temporary. We see what's going on in our country right now. We see the way we elect leaders. We see the way we support policies, because the people who support certain things feel like that's going to happen to those people. It's not going to happen to me until it does. Until somehow the ish rolls downhill enough to where it reaches you, right? And so I think our paradigm is always one of exclusion, where we feel like, yeah, well, I'm just one of the lucky ones where I, and I'm not just picking on Christianity, whether you are into the law law of attraction or any other ways that you can believe, right? You're just lucky enough to have been exposed to it. And so I just think it's a question that's worthy of continuing.
Absolutely. And I still struggle with it. Even when I'm reading, especially when I'm reading the Old Testament, when I worry about the Hittites and the Canaanites, and I start thinking about they built all the cities and then they got kicked out. I still struggle with it. And, I pray about it and I struggle with it, and I ask for guidance to help me through those struggles. So it's not like I'm like, yeah, I'm on the list, I'm good, I'm in the club, I'm dead. No, it's not that for me. It's an ongoing.
You got bottle service, Darren. You got bottle service.
I'm at the VIP table.
Right.
It's still a struggle for me, even in dealing with that. But for me as a Christian, I have to believe what the Bible says and trust that God has a way for the people that I care about and the people that I don't know that I would like for them to be on the list too. I have to trust that he has a way for them, and it's not up to me. He told me what the way was. He's like, this is your path. This is the way I say, and that's what I believe. And if his philosophy is his philosophy, if he says that I am the creator and I get to decide, then I accept that. If he says I am the creator and I have a different path for them, then I accept that as well.
All right. So Ella and Ron, I'll give you guys the last words on this, and then we'll wrap it up. We've kind of gone a little bit longer than usual, but any final thoughts on your end?
I'm good.
I'm not going to burn in hell over this conversation.
Yeah.
It was way over my head.
I'm good with God. Y'all go ahead and debate. I love it.
I think that it's a great topic.
Absolutely.
The dogmatic nature that Darren and others hold on to their view of the interpretation of the Bible is somewhat problematic, because it's been used again as a weapon to say, if you're not following this, you're going to go to hell. Therefore, I'm going to colonize your lands. I'm going to enslave your people, and I'm going to extract the riches of your civilization and send them back to Western Europe or North America. So the history of Christianity in this country is not, or I'm sorry, in the world is not an admirable resume to show someone. And my faith is open to believing that if someone is in India or another part of the world that is not Christian, they still have a path to salvation.
All right. Well, there you have it. We have 4 unique points of view on who God is, what God wants, and what this whole life is about, and who's on the list and who ain't. So I hope each one of you is on the list. And if you're not, please explain how we can get on. How can I be down, right?
I can get on the club. I can get on the bounty list.
Can we talk about, did you actually not get into Carolina West?
Oh, man. Ron's reaching way back.
He said it. He mentioned it.
No, I said Carolina West. He said the club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said he didn't get into Carolina West.
No, he said he didn't to the club. I said Carolina West.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, see, now just another area where we got to deal with Darren's, personal issues that have led him to the place where he is. We're seeking therapy at this point. We're talking about it. In the meantime,
maybe a
we're going to let
GoFundMe
you guys
site.
go. If you have thoughts about what we said today, really would love to hear it, because obviously it's a topic that touches many of us in our personal lives. And as we look at what's happening in our world on the personal level or on a macro level, certainly this topic is one that is very relevant. So appreciate you guys being with us. The three of you guys, I'm always blessed by your company, and I look forward to doing it again next time, huh?
Yep.
So
Definitely.
everybody, we'll see you on the next one. We've got issues. What
Good
are
night.
yours? Hear all
Good
about
night.
it. We'll see you next time.